This was supposed to be Sean Conroy's swan song, his last um, time portraying 007. He was getting tired of being typecast as James Bond, and You Only Live Twice. Taking place in Japan, of course. Setting in most of Japan, there is this unknown spaceship that's been devouring other spaceships, and then gets transported to a headquarters that no one knows where it's at. And Americans are blaming the Russians and vice versa. And Japan has some influence in here. What is going on? It is Spectre that is controlling. What a surprise. I like this movie overall, and I would like to amend my opinion about Thunderball. I like that too. It got pretty zany and cartoony. Not that it's a bad thing, but that part hadn't been tweaked yet. I feel like You Only Live Twice was something where every attribute, I guess, of the big budget entries started to take place. And you could tell in here that this was going to be the big finale for our hero. And it does. It feels like that, Bond was going to retire from where he was, from his employers, going to live in Japan. And just the hilarity of this movie, even though it is great with a great finale, I just think that it got adapted for the big screen in the correct way. Let me explain. It's like when his body is cast out at sea, he floats down, gets rescued by a couple of divers, and then comes aboard a ship. And we see like he's I forgot, a commander or something like that. I'm like, what rank doesn't he have? So then, it's him getting used to the style in Japan and stuff like that. With the ninjas, the training, I don't want to say geishas, but female, non-sexual female entertainers. The most they do is bathe and give a massage. And that's about it. So of course it follows all the standard tropes that you would see. I mean, it's like, of course, most people probably got their information about Japan from like National Geographic or documentaries that show what life is like, which works to a point. This was 1967. After all, this was well before all the live albums from Deep Purple and Cheap Trick came out. So we got ourselves what kind of feels like more of a Japan moving on from World War II and adapting to a new lifestyle. So I think that with some of the filming being done in Tokyo and everything else, I think that this was the more, I want to say, focused effort. Albeit it does get a little cartoony, but in either a good way or bad way. When Bond calls for little Nellie, I'm like, okay, what is little Nellie and the father? Little Nellie, as it turns out, is an airplane that can be assembled, and I'm like, what? Alright, so then here are 4 or 5 different people holding suitcases with all the various parts. Conroy's doing some speech overhead, and then they build part of the plane. There's a photo of it, like 4 or 5 different photos of it being assembled, and I'm like, what? What? But the sequences with it are pretty good. It is very cool to see the machine guns, the flamethrower, the giant missiles, and the aerial sequences, the aerial combat sequences are so cool. It's like, oh yes, I like that. Just this little plane that works somehow so well that it is just preposterously, I don't want to say enjoying, it's enjoyment. It's, even though it's so over the top and something that would fit into, was that, the Acme products Wile E. Coyote would use, but here it works well, and it's not boring. It's entertaining. I like that. Yeah, and then the climax is at the volcano, and yes, you can. And one of the ladies is named Kissy Suzuki. Say what you will about that. Yeah, I mean, when you get to the volcano, I mean, this movie is more of a sets. The sets work well. You know, you got the Osada Tower, you have the training ground, you have and of course you have the colossal volcano. I mean, this thing is massive, and yes, this I think is where the secret layer for a volcano comes from for a villain. I think this is the originator, if not the populator of it, if you will, and it is so amazing to look at. It's like you get a little brief moment of it in the beginning, but then you get the big time, full scale production of the climax. We finally get to see what number one looks like. Ernst Blofeld, played by Donald Pleasence. Yes, that was right, Mr. Sam Loomis himself from the Halloween franchise. He is so deliciously great. You know, he's got the damaged left eye that, of course, would influence Dr. Evil. I like this. This was what, in my opinion, Thunderball wanted to be, and I enjoyed that, but I got more enjoyment from this one. And you know, it's just so great, just seeing all the people, descend from who was at the top, the Japanese Secret Service, how they all descend down the volcano, and just the combat that's going on. Oh, it was so dang good. I'm like, yes. Sean, but at the same time, it felt so I guess you could say cartoonish. You know, something, all the stuff going on in the 60s of Johnny Quest, or was that Johnny Test? I forgot. Just, I don't know, it just works so well. It's so over the top that you have to believe it. Action is good, but the story is just all over the place. It's either too thin or too confusing. It may depend on what a person says. So, at the same time, you know, it's like you can appreciate the effort that they went in, because the volcano set itself was bigger than the entire budget of Dr. No. And, you know, the producers, Alfred Broccoli and Harry Steinman, or whatever his name was, and some other crew members were going to go and board this flight to return to Pinewood Studios, but they were invited to a ninja demonstration, and when this airplane was going to take off, it imploded near Tokyo Tower. So I think the course of the history of cinema may have been extremely different had they boarded that airplane. Holy smokes. Bond was Sean Connery was getting tired of playing Bond, portraying Bond. You know, it's like people were taking his photographs in toilets and stuff like that. Eventually, he had to have 30 security guards just to patrol him, but even some of the security guards themselves were capturing photos of him, and he just said, "I've had enough." He said when there were some producers on set, he would not film. You can tell he was getting a little tired, ergo him wanting to just live a more quiet life, being a Japanese farmhand or whatever it was. So it's like, well, you could tell it was starting to get towards the end and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't blame him. I would be tired of that too. So he was even offered $1 million to re-portray Bond, but ultimately he was just so dissatisfied with it. He's like, no, I am finished. And get ready for this. The Rock's grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia, portrays one of the minions towards the beginning, and it does feel kind of like a 1960s wrestling match. I would say more Ricky Dozan, more than classy Freddy, like kind of like classy Freddie Blassie. So it's not like all the flippy stuff that you see nowadays, but more just whole rest holes and just fights and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool to see Samoan Dynasty in the beginning. I'm like, okay, this is well before Soul Man Rocky Johnson or Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, This movie is definitely a little bit more cartoony with just how it goes, but I guess that's what makes James Bond famous. The story is minimal, but the sets are really cool. Volcano is great. Some people may say it's a Thunderball clone, but I enjoy this one more. Donald Pleasence portraying Blofeld's great. So yeah, if you want, keep that in mind. you know. But at the same time, you think you will enjoy. You only live twice.